or do not. There is no try.
You think that's air you're breathing now?
Wax on, wax off.
Are you ready to get woke? Welcome to the Wokest Podcast with your host, Alex Lazarev.
Alex, the comic from Canada, coming to stay for a little while, and we just decided, let's just go on a rant, because we were going on a rant anyway, and then it kind of made sense just to record it, because, you know, when you've gone through certain processes, you end up talking about really beautiful things, and why not record it and put it on our channels? So here we are.
So what I believe Ben is trying to say is it's a co-creation between
Trust the Silence
and the Woke as Fuck Podcast.
Yeah.
With equal rights to both. And when it goes super viral and millions of people say it was the greatest podcast ever, it will be 51% woke as... No, I'm just kidding. It'll be 50-50. That's right.
There you go. So yeah, we were having a chat earlier just about the oneness, non-duality, and, you know, the various kind of traps of the path, let's say, earlier on. And yeah, eventually just thought, let's record it. So yeah, without further ado, we were kind of, maybe it's best that I kind of introduce where I'm coming from and how I got into that field of thought, and Alex can maybe do the same. As my listeners know, I kind of got into this through Sikhi, or, you know, you might say Sikhism, but it's not. You know, Sikhi is actually to be a learner, and therefore, as long as you're conscious and you're looking for answers, you essentially are following the path of Sikhi. You are a learner, and the main underpinning of Sikhi is non-duality, oneness. The very first word in the big book that they read from is Ik, which means one, and it underpins everything within that. So it becomes all the same thing. If you really believe in non-duality, there aren't these categories and boundaries that people put by it. And I was kind of saved by that, let's say. You know, this pathway through a dark night. I found, you know, the beauty that everything is positive, everything is one, and that we're all perfect in our imperfections and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's a little background from me. But to pass it on, here's Alex.
I don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it mainly started with having a pretty abusive childhood, which made no sense. I was just no dad, and me just getting the crap beaten out of me and shoes thrown at my head. It was all a bit much. So I kind of went on the healing path, and that led into, from working on myself and healing myself and loving myself, eventually into the spiritual journey. And all my stories are long, so it's hard to do a short version. But basically, I read one spiritual book in 2009, and then I had a spontaneous, pretty full-on awakening into the nature of existence and oneness, and that we're all just infinite souls on a human adventure. And then from 2009, I became really obsessed with it. Like, I really wanted to wake up and know what is the truth of our nature, what happens when we die, what are we doing here, like all the big questions. So I just went full-on gung-ho. On every level, like plant medicines and reading books and different practices, and just went full on. And then that culminated in several mega, whatever you want to call them, self-realizations, enlightenments, awakenings, whatever. But yeah, really crazy ones, and including like full on ego death, and then like full like total realization that we're, you know, that the human is just a dream character, and only the self, the totality of existence is yourself, and then going back into the body. So lots of crazy stuff like that. And the journey continues.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely, there's always parallels with stories and whatnot, but like, I don't know. For me, my awakening went through this dark night, which was actually like a drug-induced psychosis, basically. I kind of made the decision at some point that I wanted to see how dark things could get in a way. I didn't feel that great in what I was doing, and made a decision to, lean further into drink and drugs and, addiction and whatever. And it was a conscious decision, like, this is what I've got. This is the hand that I was dealt. It was very like self-defeatist, and eventually realized through the process that I went through that we're always at the crossroads and we can always choose the other way, but some of us just need to go deeper and darker in order to make the other choice. And so I, like many people do who go on this path, I leant into the darkness to see how dark it could go until I really wasn't into it anymore. Which, that was a profound turning point, and one that you don't need to do twice, fortunately. You do it once, you'll remember it for the rest of your days, and that's kind of the eye of the needle that people speak of. But it's also quite a risky time in senses, because of course there is always the option of taking oneself away from this realm, whatever that means. And that was quite close for me at the time. But the one thing that was left as a kind of atheist, nihilistic late teenager, early 20s really, one of the main things is that I actually surrendered. I actually let go of my ego, hence the ego death, and prayed for the first time basically ever. I need to know, is there some other path that isn't this dark? And then the springboard that created was profound and deeply changing to my core. So it's that's kind of just to go a bit deeper into my thing. But please, if you have a long story, it doesn't matter, whatever comes out, Alex. So up to you.
Well, interestingly, I never chased the Dark Night of the Soul. I've had some of those. Interestingly, my ones came using substances. Those were some really crazy dark points. But that wasn't my path. My path was healing and just seeking the light, like seeking the truth. I just want to know the truth, and the truth was revealed in many crazy, events. But all paths are different. That's what's so interesting about the journey. It's just like, if there's 8 billion people on the planet, which I don't believe, but if there were, there would be 8 billion ways to enlightenment. Like every path is unique. So that's what makes it very interesting.
For sure. That's definite. And certainly that's like my origin story. The kind of leaning into the darkness. But then once you get a taste for that light, let's say at the end of the tunnel, although it's non-linear, so there is no tunnel or end. But when you get a taste for that light, then you begin to start to just yearn for more. So I can definitely resonate with what you said. Based on that, after the dark night and whatever, it was like, I need more of this in my life and I'll do anything for it. And then became, pretty one-tracked minded, really, as people often do after that point. I'll do anything to cleanse my body, cleanse my mind, rescind kind of spiritual contracts, and, really clean up my act. Which, it's a beautiful thing to see how far one can come so quickly if you do actually put your mind to things. I was living in a web of mess at the time, and now feel very much like, I'm a man in a spiritual sense. I've been through that growth process. Obviously not there, but also there at the same time, right? Like, we're all there. The way is easy, just to drop all of the complications of the mind, and you can just sit back in being there, without overthinking things. But
if anyone tells you they're enlightened, run away. They're probably a psychopath. Or at very least a narcissist.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm so enlightened. Who is this me? Tell me of this me that is so enlightened. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who is this enlightened person you speak of?
Exactly. And in that sense, in oneness, can you really distinguish yourself as you being enlightened and others not? You know, it becomes a kind of difficult double-edged sword there. But
Becomes an ego fest.
exactly,
Yes.
the supreme ego.
My imaginary character that is not real because it's merged with God is more enlightened than your imaginary character that's not real because yours hasn't merged with God yet.
Yeah,
So my imaginary character is the better one.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right, mate. Yeah.
That's it. And yeah, something that I often think about on that note is like all these people that one might say are like asleep in these times. Like there's quite a clear distinction between certain kind of, you know, mental frequencies, and it always sneaks in even to the best of people that some people need to do this or need to do that or need to wake up or whatever, but ultimately the last stage is loving them for where they are and trusting that where they are is perfectly where everything's supposed to be, right? And that's like one of the biggest traps of the times, because there's these separations that sneak into every dogmatic, spiritualized kind of system of thought and whatever. And yeah, we can get pretty caught up in us and theming and whatever. Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's the biggest one, I think, on the spiritual journey, and probably the biggest trap as well, because no matter how many layers you go through, like layers of ego, death, oneness experiences with the ultimate truth of oneness of love, unless you're like a Sri Ramana Maharaj or like Jesus or like very few beings that attain full enlightenment and stay in those states, you know, you're going to go back into being a human. You're going to have an ego. And because one has had these profound experiences, one tends to grasp those experiences and then share those. But then as soon as you start sharing them and you in any way like get into your ego of like, well, I am special because I had this experience and I'm the teacher now. Well, now you're building up an ego. But the ultimate truth that you're trying to teach is there's only God, there's only presence, there's only existence, and it's all beings all the time, everywhere, all at once, forever. And there's no separation. It's just pure consciousness. So as soon as you're trying to, so it's difficult even to be a spiritual teacher and fully be coming from that ultimate truth without any identification with even the teacher or that you know something. You know what I mean? Like it's really tricky because as soon as a mouth is moving, this is really what it comes down to. As soon as a mouth is moving, there's an ego.
Yeah.
As soon as you're trying to put a point across, as soon as you're trying to make some other being that's not yourself understand something or get something or anything, now there's a teacher, now there's a separation. And so some will say, and I probably agree, that the ultimate teaching is pure bliss, pure presence. Like literally the biggest transmissions I've gotten from my teachers, they weren't saying a thing. They were being pure love. It was shining out of their eyes. Their heart was open, and I could literally sense the depth of their presence and love. And I was like, holy shit, I know that's myself, and I need to just sit here and shut the fuck up and just be and like, oh my God, you know, seriously. So that's, and so Sri Ramana Maharaj, for example, for a long time, he didn't say a fucking thing. He just sat there, and people just came around and were like blown away by his stillness and silence and the quiet joy that was emanating. Nothing needed to be said. And eventually one of his disciples, as he was getting older, was like, bro, you know, you're going to leave the planet. You got to tell us something. And he was like, all right. And okay, fine. I'll do it. And he did it because he was asked to do it. So it's a very, very slippery slope. And I speak very much from personal experience, as someone who's had some of the most profound, experiences, like, really, really, really crazy, like full on God, no person, full on ego death, like really, really crazy. Even after those experiences and total realization that there is only God and that's all that exists and everything is that, there's still an ego who wants to help people and wants to teach and wants, and it's such a journey being aware of the love that we are as a teacher, that you are, and coming absolutely from that place without any ego, and a person who wants to like help people and build a following and have a business, So it's very, very difficult, and there's very few teachers on the planet that are really coming from that place of love and nothing else matters, and literally just want to help who's ready for it. And so that's what we can all strive for, that in every part, not just if we're spiritual teachers, in every way, to only help others and teach and love, in a way that people are ready for, in a way that people are asking without ever putting our will or any level of force. Because as soon as there's any pushing or any desire other than the absolute purest desire to love all beings so that they remember that they are love, anything other than that, it's an ego and it's got an agenda. And it's a sneaky one.
Yeah, I feel that. It's so funny in these kinds of conversations, which aren't so common for me, but when somebody's on the playing field of this kind of conversation, I find myself listening from quite a wide angle. It's not like I'm hearing every word. I'm hearing more the vibration of what you're saying, and I really feel it resonating. I'm sure you can as a listener as well, but just to touch on a couple of like concepts from what I've been learning, the koshas within the yogic sort of philosophy, a really great thing to look at. They're like layers of an onion that go into your central, really core non-dual being, and the last sheath, as it's known, is the Anandamaya kosha, which is bliss. And that's the closest thing to your soul. So really just being in bliss and allowing whatever is there to be there, and allowing the world to be how it is, and finding bliss within those moments is really just the key. And like you rightly said, whenever one has a beautiful opening experience that brings you to Anandamaya kosha, or Sachkhand as you might call it in Sikhi, the realm of truth, you want to tell people, and I'm sure everybody goes through an experience of, really trying, and that's the key word, is like as soon as you start trying, it's usually ego, and really trying to relay that to others. And if they're not ready and not resonating on that frequency, they're just not going to hear what you're saying. So it eventually becomes like, okay, this is just me in a kind of glass box for a time. But then eventually, you can end up getting rid of that glass box, being in the world yet not of it, and really being in that Anandamaya kosha throughout. And the other thing I'd like to just bring in as well, this other concept, which is of course exactly the same but just worded differently. In Sikhi, there's always reference to the Manmukh or the Gurmukh, and the Manmukh is like the one who speaks the mind, man being mind or manas, and then Mukh being like the speech or the mouth, and then you've got the Gurmukh, which is the mind of the Guru, or the mouth or the speech of the Guru. And you're either channeling your mind or you're channeling the Guru. That's it, basically. So these kinds of conversations are more attempting to channel the Guru, but like you say, the more you get into these things, the closer this duality becomes, and it becomes sometimes quite difficult to navigate away from the mind and that kind of thing. But generally speaking, you can see red flags in people who coming from the mind, even in the spiritual game or the spiritual world or the industry, if you can even put spiritual and industry in the same sentence. You can see these red flags of like marketing in certain ways and really trying to get a following. And as soon as you see that trying, you can kind of pick apart that if they're playing a game or whether or not they're being authentic. And of course, like you say, the authentic ones probably aren't out there quite as much, very often anyway. So yeah, it's a funny one when coming into these gurus, embodied, marketed YouTube kind of things. It's a dangerous kind of thing. You always need to keep your wits about you navigating this thing. And yeah, just to sort of round up this little rant, one thing that I found very important is to really, in a way, never trust those outside of you, but also trust everything outside of you. You're hearing it for a reason. and not necessarily the human embodiment to trust that, but to trust the things that you're hearing and the energies that are being sent your way, because those really are meeting your internal vibration. It's being sent by the one field, by the God creator, whatever you want to call it, and it's hitting with what causes resonance with you or disresonance. And so you've got to take heed of the streams that are coming towards you. That's what I would say anyway. Yeah. Woo. That's a good little 20 minutes. So yeah, nice little rants. I quite enjoyed that. Quite often just close my eyes and let it come out. But yeah. Did that kick up anything for you?
I mean, there's a million and one ways we can go. How long do you normally record for?
Kind of usually half an hour with my things, but yeah, it's up to you. If you feel like going, go. If you don't, then don't.
There's always a reason something comes into our field. That becomes more and more obvious. There's nothing, like we think things are random, but nothing is random. So, but it may not be the reason that we think, right? And so sometimes we'll dismiss an experience because we'll say, oh, no, that person's wrong, or that's stupid, or whatever. That's not for me. But it is for you because it's in your experience, right? So, so just a reminder to just always be open to whatever the moment is bringing, and don't assume that you know why something's happening, because sometimes something will happen and you'll get a piece of information. It may be months or years until you go, oh, there was a lesson in there for me. Whoopsie, almost missed that one.
Yeah.
So, so again, it's the ego that judges. This is good or bad, or I need this, or I don't need this, or this is so many thoughts. But, so it's like a constant bringing ourselves back to the moment and trusting the moment, and whatever is unfolding is supposed to be unfolding for us. Otherwise, it wouldn't be unfolding for us.
Yeah, exactly. I love, in the nutshell kind of things that come to you, and put those concepts into short sentences. And something that came to me once in meditation was, failures are lessons, successes are blessings. And it's like, yeah, wow, that was profound. It wasn't me, don't quote me on it, it's someone else, but something else is just coming through me. And yeah, it definitely points to everything really being positive at the end of the day. You've just got to vibrate in that way, just to see, losing money, let's say on a crypto scam, for example, which we were talking about earlier. It's like everybody's experience pretty much. But
I think I don't want to be, too cocky here, but I feel like I'm the best at that. I really feel if anyone's good at losing tons of money on stupid stuff, it's been me for many, many years.
Yeah. I reckon we should get like a wrestler's belt for that title. I'd be close second. Yeah. I mean, I'd be close second, if not possibly. I mean, we'll put it to the test. Get our balance sheets out. But yeah, either way, those are lessons. And yeah, years down the line, I'm like, I definitely know what I would do now. So, or do I? That greed might kick in again, but greed is one of the first most important lessons to learn with money, especially with stuff like crypto, where you can make crazy cash overnight and then it all disappears in the same way. So yeah, it's an interesting one, which I actually had to just get away from in order to recalibrate, become healthy in that. It just highlighted a disharmony, let's say. Yeah, interesting. But
yeah, one interesting thing you touched upon, we could get into a little bit, is that so many, this goes various ways, but this has been on my mind a lot recently, which is there are different important types of awakening, and people can be awake to some degree in one of the fronts, but completely not in others. But they make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, they're done because they're awake now. And that's like a really massive trap. So just an example, there's there's like 3D awake. So I call that like the planetary stuff. Like, so what is the financial system? How does it work? Who's running the planet? Who controls the governments? Who, like, what's actually happening here? You know, like, what are the psyops? You know, like, what are the things? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many levels of like what's actually going on the planet, and most people have absolutely no idea. Just in the last 5 years, a lot of people have been actually tuning into like, okay, there's an agenda here. You know, like, why is the food and water poisoned? Why are they spraying the skies with poison? Like, why, you know, so why are they injecting us with poison? So it goes on. So once you start to wake up to the planetary stuff, that's only one type of awakening.
Yeah.
Then there's an entirely different type of awakening, which is, you could say, the personal awakening. So the fact that we all have birth trauma, generational trauma. We may have, toxins and detoxing to be done, and belief systems that are injected into us by the society, by our parents, that are fundamentally, keeping us from expanding and learning and growing. So working on ourselves and healing ourselves on, like, spiritually, energetically, physically, is a massive rabbit hole. Which, again, it's a whole world, right? And so are you awake to, your own shadow and your shadow work and all your limiting beliefs? That's a whole fucking planet right there. So there's that awakening. Okay, and now we haven't even gotten to the ultimate, some might say the ultimate awakening, which is self-realization. The realization that your consciousness is source, is Christ consciousness, is Buddha nature, and that's the only real thing that there is, and that's actually what you are, and everything else is just, you are love, you are God, and you forgot that, and the highest, craziest trip God could play is a prank on itself, which is to incarnate in infinite beings and forget that you're God, and then remember that. And that the biggest shock I can tell you from experience is forgetting that you're God, and then remembering that you're God, and realizing you pranked yourself, and then laughing your ass off. That is the greatest fucking trip ever, and the greatest prank ever played, and we're all playing it on ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's what's happening here. I mean, fundamentally, that's literally what's happening here. So there's that awakening, right, which is infinite, and the health one is infinite, and what this planet is about, the first one, that's infinite too. So those are just three for me. Those are the three main ones, right? And your personal shadow, working on yourself one, and the infinite truth one are very much linked. They're all actually linked together, and yet they're still different. And so it really is, as one of my spiritual teachers says, an infinity game. There is no end. It just keeps going. And no matter how awake you are, no matter how much healing that you've done, it just keeps going and going and going. Pretty much infinitely, until at some point, we literally fully merge with with pure consciousness, and we're done playing this game. But then there's going to be another game. It's never really going to finish. But there's so many levels. And it's like, and that was one of the direct kind of teachings I got from, I would say God, but from myself, from the self, which was, no matter what level you get to, seemingly in some blissful, amazing oneness experience, the attitude to have is you're a baby at that level. You're brand new at that level. And so at every single level, recognizing you're just a spiritual baby, and then the being who's been at that level for 20 years, compared to that being, you're just literally like a baby. So always have that consciousness, that attitude, like spiritual baby all the time, even in the most profound, doesn't matter. You just, and interestingly, if you actually think about a baby and baby consciousness, baby is the highest level, like it's the highest level of consciousness. If Jesus is in a room and there's a newborn baby, guess who's got the higher level of consciousness? Sorry, but it's not Jesus. The baby is pure presence. No thoughts, no belief systems, no structures, no limitations, nothing. Pure existence is the baby. So that is actually, the baby is the highest teacher. Yeah. Can you just be there in the joy, in the love, pure presence? And so to remember that baby at every part of learning, I don't care if you're learning Kung Fu or Qigong or dry fasting or, presence, spiritual enlightenment, whatever, baby consciousness all the time. And they talk about it as a beginner's mind and such. But yeah, ultimately, no matter where you get to, you just got to that level and you're a baby. And to stay humble in that is very, very important on this path.
Yes. That's so, profound. And it's certainly come up in my my path as well. The baby is the pure, for sure, and
That rhymes.
yeah.
The baby is the pure.
And yeah, what a rant. One thing that I was thinking on the way at the beginning of your rant, in fact, was this crypto analogy coming back in. It's like when you've got that investment in your idea of awakening or being awakened in the three-dimensional sense, and then this idea of being awakened in the kind of spiritual sense, and the investment that you've put into all of that, the investment in cleansing and cleansing your, family traumas or familial traumas and generational stuff, to then throw it all away, in the terms of the mind, and actually just accept that everything is one and that everything's fine exactly how it is, feels like you're losing something. And so people get so stuck, I've found, at that stage. And I've got a couple of friends who pop into mind when I think of this, and really it's not an easy place to be. My compassion really goes out to them. There's this black-pilled notion that it could be a kind of CIA word, just like conspiracy theorist, where actually most of it is actually true. The black-pilled guy is on the three-dimensional level mostly right. But there is something beyond that they can't see because their investments are so high. The stakes are so high for them. And I certainly pray for those in that place. I forget exactly who it was, but there's a quote. Potentially it's Winston Churchill, but won't go into him for this one. If you're in hell, keep going, or if you're going through hell, keep going. And that's the kind of brings in the baby mindset in a way, because it's this isn't it. As long as you're going through tough stuff, then you're not there. And how do you wade through those waters and come out the other side? And of course the answer really is allowing and surrender, and both of those things bring you back to that infant baby pure inner light state, which if you just get a glimpse into that, then you'll be changed for forever. So I'm fortunate enough to have seen at least small glimpses of it. And not to go into that in too much depth, but that's pretty good amount of information for a just over 30-minute rant. So signing off just by saying, every time you have an opportunity as friends and whatever to record something, get these conversations down, get it down, send it over here, and start ranting and recording and doing what you want to do, because it's beautiful to take these opportunities. So thank you, Alex, for joining me. But anything else you'd like to say?
It was really nice, mate.
Yeah.
Really nice. I mean, it could go forever, but it was a nice little session, and just sending lots of love to everybody, and just let's all keep doing the best we can to be in the present moment and live life as the love that we truly are.
Nice. Thank you so much. Much love. Chat to you soon.
Peace.
Peace.